On this episode of Estate and CX, we've got Natasha from Property Progressors. We talk all things property progression, sales, sellers, how to shave off 2 weeks worth of your transaction times, how to get the best deals through, and also something new that Natasha's been working on that she's about to release in the industry. I hope you enjoy it.
Estate and CX, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business, hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
So Natasha, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So anyone listening out there or watching today's show, a bit of background about who you are and how you've come to today.
Yeah, so I'm Natasha Candeias. I was a estate agent for 14 years in and around London, predominantly Canary Wharf, Greenwich areas. And I did my own little stint as a self-employed agent back in 2017, which led me to set up Property Progressors. After being self-employed, I did go back into managing a high street branch. And then when I went on maternity leave with my daughter, I set myself up as a self-employed sales progressor. So I just called through all of the contacts that I knew in the industry. Obviously, I just had a baby, so I didn't want to be working Saturdays anymore and all of that kind of stuff. So I set myself up as a self-employed sales progressor. And 4 years on, we're a fully fledged company.
Awesome. Okay. It usually happens in those sort of milestones, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like things change and you realise there's more to just the estate agency four walls that you've been in an office.
Yeah. I feel like having a child puts you out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
because I always think actually when I was growing up, I was always like, I'm not the kind of person who would have children. But then if I didn't have my daughter, my career wouldn't have taken off in the way that it did because I was forced to put myself out of my comfort zone and set myself up on my own. I probably would have just stayed in employed roles otherwise. So
life happens while you're doing other things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So let's bring it back to your estate agency career then, before then, because I think that's quite a good foundation for what you do now as an understanding. So how did that sort of start off with career-wise? Was that the first work that you'd got yourself into?
So I applied for a job. I think I applied for a job as a recruiter. It wasn't an estate agent. I applied for a job as a recruiter. And the person called me and said, "Oh, look, this job's been filled, but we do have a job as an estate agent." And actually, prior to becoming an estate agent, I used to work in Russell and Bromley, and I used to get commission for selling shoes. So I started there when I was 16. I got commission for selling shoes, and then my first job was in Blackheath. In an estate agency, and I moved over to another estate agency in Blackheath, which was brilliant. So I worked for KFH in Blackheath. That was really fun. That was a really fun experience. And then I went over to Canary Wharf, and I stayed in Canary Wharf for a long time. It was brilliant. I made lots of friends in my career there. And then I became a branch manager in Greenwich.
All with KFH?
No. So I was KFH in Blackheath, and then I moved over to Chase Evans in Canary Wharf. And then I went to Chase Evans Greenwich, and then Life Residential as a branch manager. And then from Life Residential, I went self-employed with Purple Bricks.
Nice. Wow. Okay. So the business that you've got now, the sales progression side of things, I mean, forget the obvious, forget that there's an obvious pitch to it, but what made you think to yourself that estate agents need this?
So I have to be honest, initially it wasn't that. It was that I'd had a baby and I needed a bit of flexibility and I didn't want to work weekends anymore. So if I'm completely honest, it wasn't estate agents need this, I'm going to set up a business that's going to help estate agents. It was I just called contacts that I had in the industry and said, look, do you need any help with sales progression, admin, anything? So when I first started, I was doing sales progression and admin.
So a bit like a VA sort of thing.
Yeah. I was doing a bit of everything for a good friend of mine called Thomas Howe. And then it kind of snowballed from there. So my passion for sales progression started when I was doing sales progression, and that's how the company grew, because I genuinely, it's not just about the estate agents. I genuinely care about the experience of the buyers and the sellers. It's such a stressful experience, and to be able to be an ear that can listen and take that off of their plate and help guide them through, I get so much, and so do the team. I get so much out of receiving even just a card or some flowers or something, and we all do. If you look at our WhatsApp group, there's just constant people uploading. There's 23 of us now, or 25 of us, but there's 23 progressors. There's just constantly people uploading pictures of, I've got some chocolates today, I've got a bottle of wine, I've got some flowers, and that is like 10 times more than the money that you get from the job. So, yeah.
And I guess you must come up against the objection of, well, actually, I'll say you must come up against the objection. Do you actively try to get more estate agents now that it's a business, or do you still we just work with people that we know that contact us? Do you go out and try and win business?
Up until about 6 months ago, we just let the business come to us, really. It wasn't until 6 months ago that I spent first money sponsoring a conference. That was the first time I'd ever spent any money on marketing. So we do send out marketing emails and stuff like that, but we don't do a huge amount. A lot of what we do is off of word of mouth and organic growth, really. But we've just brought BDM onto the team, so that will change.
So then, if an estate agent was to say, it's just that bit that you're talking about, the chocolates and the flowers and the thanks so much, is like a part of the customer experience, if you like, and we want that customer experience like in our team.
Yeah.
How do you overcome that?
So for me, we've actually got two options. So we can progress as property progressors, or we can progress as white labeled. I think the agents that get the most out of us are the agents that treat us as part of their team. We certainly aim to be an extension of the team. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys will get this. None of the agents that we work with work in the same way. So when we first start working with an agent, we'll set up a WhatsApp group with me and my ops manager and the agent. And we'll just say, please do give us feedback, because everybody works in completely different ways. So if something's not working for you, we'll adapt to it, because they get their own dedicated sales progressor. So they don't send us a file and it gets passed to whoever, and they get their own dedicated sales progressor. So what that means is that over a period of time, we get to understand how they work and work as part of their team, rather than it feeling disjointed.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
do you have like a type of client that you tend to find you deal with the most? Or is it smaller, larger?
No, not really. We've got a real variety of clients. We've got agents that sell one property a month. We've got contracts with corporate agents that we work with, and kind of everything in between. So yeah.
And what do you find that the reasons why they are coming to you?
Sales progression. So sales progression has become really complex. So I remember when I was an estate agent, you'd have like 2 mornings a week dedicated to doing a sales progression. Tuesday and a Thursday, 2 hours of sales progression, and then the rest of the week is selling properties and listing properties. You can't do that now. Like last year, the negotiator released an article, and it said that estate agents are spending between 52 to 54% of their time doing sales progression. That's astronomical. So by having a sales progressor, you buy back 52 to 54% of your time, but also we reduce the fall through rate. So compared to national average, we reduce it by 50%. So we get more of your deals through and give you 50% of your time back to generate new business.
How do you see AI affecting it all?
It's a good question, actually, because I think there's definitely a place for tech. Whenever I ask AI to write me a LinkedIn post, it gets it completely wrong. So it still doesn't understand sales progression. But I definitely think there's a place for tech. I think that actually, AI has caused a few problems in progression, because there was, I don't know if you saw the video from Ryan Serhant, where he'd said that he had a deal that fell through because the buyer was speaking to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT was telling them they're paying 50,000 or 500,000 too much for this property, and the seller was also talking to ChatGPT, telling them that they've sold it for too little. So the deal fell apart, because AI tells you what you want to hear. So I don't think right now AI should be used in sales progression, not for advice. But I do think there's a place. So within our business, we've got like for every milestone. So you chase like draft contracts, searches, mortgage offer, mortgage valuation, that kind of thing. We've got a templated email that I've written. So the purpose behind that is that it saves the sales progressors time. They can click a button and it chases a draft contract in a friendly way that I would chase, not a combative way. So we're very collaborative with the solicitors. So that saves the sales progressor, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes on each time they need to chase a draft contract. So they can focus their expertise on helping people and giving guidance. So I do think that human element is very much still needed. It's the repetitive stuff that we use the tech for.
Yeah, that's a good point.
With regards to, you talk about fall through rates, and obviously you've got a better or lesser fall through rate than maybe the industry averages out there. Do you find there's a particular type of way that agents should set up the sale to achieve a better fall through, to reduce the fall through rate?
Yes. There's a few things actually. So I think getting vendors educated and prepared before they go onto the market, actually. So having them instruct their solicitor and complete the protocol forms, fish out any warranties, guarantees, things like that. I think that's really important, actually. That can shave 2 weeks off of a transaction, and time is money in a transaction. So we've actually got a chart that shows you that how the fall through rate increases as the transaction goes on. So every week, every day really is important. So if you can shave 2 weeks off a transaction, as soon as you send out a memorandum of sale, the draft contract should be going out the next day if your seller has instructed their solicitor and completed the protocol forms. So yeah, I think that's really important. And there are reservation agreements that you can do now. So there's like the Gazelle reservation. So we've had lots of chats with Gazelle about working together. And I just find it fascinating because I think their reservation agreement is really fair to both buyer and seller. I think historically reservation agreements have been one-sided on the seller's side, but it's really fair. So I do think that would really help transactions and fall through rates as well. I don't want to quote Gazelle's fall through rate because I'm not quite sure what it is.
No, we've had clients who use Gazelle have seen a massive increase in the properties, the percentage of their properties that complete through.
Yeah.
Because again, it's just another thing in place to ensure that you have confidence in the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
Coming towards that transaction. Yeah. That they're committed to trying to achieve this, not let's see how it goes, but at any point I'll just pull out the sale and who cares? I'm still in my home.
Yeah, it's not I don't think it's the reservation agreement that makes someone go through with the transaction.
No.
Like you say, it's just when you're posed the question, are you happy to sign a reservation agreement?
Yeah.
You can start to filter out the people that are and aren't at that point,
it's a lie
rather
detector.
than waiting until we get 6 months down the line.
Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, so in your mind, so you were to talk me through, like, what does a sale that, I mean, we've got the obvious, right? There's a cash buyer and like there's no chain and all that sort of thing. But what does a nightmare like sale look like when it lands on your desk? Other than the fact that maybe there's like 48 people in the chain, like something that could have easily been avoided, like a nightmare sale that lands on your desk and you just think like, this is destined for problems.
Yeah.
Versus one that lands on your desk and you think, happy days.
As awful as this sounds, I think it depends on the agent and how it's tied up, if I'm completely honest. I had a sale that I was personally dealing with once where on the viewing, the agent had told the buyer that, so it was a period conversion. So we were selling the bottom floor flat and the agent, so there was a side access into the garden, but the ground floor flat had direct access to their garden. So the side access belonged to the top floor flat. But they've got on well, neighbours, their top floor flat always let them use the side access if they ever needed it. If they were getting like big furniture delivered or anything like that, fine. However, the agent said that on the viewing, the buyer was demanding a change to the lease that they had right of way along that side access. I mean, the top floor flat was like, why? I mean, I like my neighbours downstairs, but I'm not selling. Why would I sign that restrictive covenant against my flat? So I was dealing with that for a very long
Yeah.
time. So I think it's things that are committed to on the viewing that we then later
Stupid shit, yeah.
yeah, we
Stick
just
the
end
deal
up
done.
dealing with it later on. And what's really frustrating is as a sales progressor, I mean, we get paid if we deliver results, right? So what's really frustrating is you're spending your time as a sales progressor. You're like, I know this is going to fall through
Yeah.
because of something somebody else
And the
has
estate agents
promised,
are doing the same thing.
and they're
And
just
everybody's
leaving it
working
to
for free.
us. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah.
So therefore, like, I guess, like, maybe something that should happen at the start of the sale should be not just the formal questionnaires, but like the questionnaire around, like, is there any changes that you're expecting as we go through this process
Yeah.
that we need to bring to everyone's attention right now?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That sort of stuff. Like, sometimes, like you say, it just doesn't. They think that they've said it, but it just happened in person on a viewing, and there's no
Yeah.
record of it anywhere.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it would be great. You know, we've all got these AI note takers. Whenever I'm on a Zoom meeting, I've got my AI note taker and it sends me a summary. If I forget something, I can go in the little
Yeah.
chat. Imagine if we could have that on viewings
Yeah.
with the estate agents.
Yeah.
So it took a summary of what was committed to on that viewing. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
That's right. Yeah, wouldn't it?
That would help our job so much. The clogs are turning now. New business idea.
We've got something that does that, but yeah, okay. So you would mention there, like, you don't get paid unless the sale goes through, right? So
Yeah.
that's why you're saying, like, well, we've got some clients that just do sell one house a month, some that sell 200. They don't have to commit to anything other than the fact that, like, you know, if this sale goes through, then they pay you a certain fee, I guess.
Yeah, so we do have a file opening fee. So we've got a file opening fee which is £50. That's only payable once per property. So we've all had those unlucky properties that just seem to fall through 6 or 7 times and finally go through. So you'd only ever pay one deposit on the property, and then the remaining is paid on completion.
Nice. Okay. So from an estate agent's point of view, it's really just about whether they believe that you can deliver as good a service as they could do internally. If you can, then it's a bit of a no-brainer really for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I would argue that we would deliver a better service than somebody who's trying to sell and list properties because they're out on appointments. And we've all had those fragile buyers that receive their survey and it's come back with damp and they're spiraling. We're at our desk all the time. We can answer the phone. We can talk that person off of a ledge, save the deal. Whereas if an agent's in evaluation, the buyer's panicking, they've called them, they don't answer the phone, who are they going to call afterwards because they're worried about it? They're going to call somebody that's not qualified to give them very good advice, like a family member, and that advice usually will be, well, if it's got damp, you
Or
need to pull
ChatGPT.
out. ChatGPT, and that's even worse, to be honest, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think from my perspective, being available on the phone is one of the most important things in sales progression.
Yeah. The going back to that hidden ideas thing, like not hidden ideas, but like hidden things that come up in the sales progression. Is there anything that you think could? I know you mentioned earlier, like, you know, the estate agent should get the seller to complete all their forms and pick their solicitor, and they should be doing all that stuff at the point whereby they're getting the property ready for sale. Really, if they're serious, if they're not, again, I guess it's another filter, isn't it? Like, if this person isn't willing to do that, then, like, how serious are they?
Yeah.
Anything that the buyers could be doing a bit earlier that, like, you think like that would speed things up?
Get searches ordered. I also think a conversation, because I think deals are tied up very quickly, and I've been guilty of this. When I was an estate agent, getting excited, we've received an offer, tying things up really quickly. But I think a conversation with the buyers, just educating them a little bit on the process, like a phone call. We do call the buyers and the sellers when we receive a new deal, but we're a new voice to them, and when you're a new voice, they're not going to absorb everything that you tell them. Whereas if it's the estate agent saying, look, the quicker the transaction goes through, the easier it'll be. So as soon as something hits your desk, please try to get it filled in within 24 hours if you can.
Otherwise, we're going to fine you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I thought you was about to say we're going to fight you.
Yeah, well, it could do that. Could do either.
Do that either.
We'll fine you or fight you.
So, 3.5. You said 3.5 years of officially setting up, 6 months on your own.
Yeah.
And you've got 23, 25. You said, yeah.
So actually, I got that wrong. We've got 23 progressors.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of us. So there's me, Abigail, our ops manager, and Lauren, our BDM.
Perfect. Okay, so quite rapid expansion on that.
Yeah.
Are they all placed around the world like maybe you are as well?
Not around the world. I'm the only person who lives abroad.
Yeah.
But the rest of the team, they're dotted all over the UK.
Perfect. And so how's that been for you going from, I'm just thinking from estate agents who may be looking to try and expand. Yeah, a lot of them struggle with recruitment and finding good people.
Yeah.
Especially with such a important role that you do.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy just to say viewing guide and just throwing someone in there. Obviously, in this discussion, maybe not so. But how have you managed to expand to those 23 people that are effectively doing what your hands used to do 23 times and still maintain that same experience that you said that you believed when you first started?
So for me, it's paying people what they're worth.
Yeah.
From what I understand, we are the highest paying sales progression firm. And I believe in that because it's a hard job. You know, they deserve to be paid well. So our margins are probably lower than other sales progression firms, but our retention, I haven't had somebody that's resigned since June last year. So we've gone a whole year without anybody leaving. So our retention is fantastic. And we've got such a lovely culture as well. So we actually get sales progressors from within the team, bringing in people that they know and putting forward CVs of people that they know. That's not how we do the majority of our recruitment, to be fair. My ops manager does a lot of the recruitment. We're just constantly interviewing sales progressors. She's constantly got a pool of sales progressors that she really liked, ready to bring them on board, because it's very difficult to plan when the business is going to come in. So it's been quite difficult from a professional perspective to juggle everything, because you can't say no to business, but you also need to have the people for the business. So yeah, it's definitely been a learning
Especially
curve.
because you've got like you said, you've got some clients who are like one a month, some are larger.
Yes.
Transactional volumes depending on the market conditions.
Yeah.
What is said in the press one day hits a bomb and review guys the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you manage that?
So we say to the sales progressors, we'll give you between this amount and this amount of new sales per month.
Yeah.
So we always aim to hit between that amount of within that range of sales each month. It's difficult though, because you've got busy periods, like January was really busy. And all of our sales progressors got more than we expected in January. But then November and December was really quiet because we had that budget. It wasn't an announcement, but it was leaked, wasn't it? So that was really quiet. So I think all the sales progressors were happy in January to receive
the budget
nice
that
money.
was the most biggest underperforming thing that nothing really happened and everyone carried on going through.
When it finished, because I was sat there and watched the whole thing. When it finished, I thought, this can't be serious. It's affected my whole business for the last 2 months, and they've announced nothing.
Yeah.
So I guess that just evens itself out over the course of the year, right? So you'll give them this amount of cases over the course of the year, but it might go up and down in the months.
Yeah.
And then they're probably, what happens with them in terms of I'm sitting there waiting for cases from you, and you give me like a fucking shit one.
It happens.
I'm like, are you joking me?
Yeah. No.
How do you filter out that who gets which case, or is it just like?
Well, no, they're allocated agents. They're not allocated cases. They're allocated agents. So when we speak to the agents, we ask them roughly how many properties they sell a month.
Yeah.
And that's how we work out the progressor's capacity. So yeah.
And they're if I guess the same thing. If I want the white label service, I've got to be doing a certain amount of transactions in a month, or not really.
No, you just have to pay us to set it up.
Right.
One-off fee to set it up, and then we can be white labelled.
Do you ever have any conversations after that in educating the agent on what best practices they should be doing to get your side in a better position? Like, you ever come across that?
To be fair, I usually have that conversation on the discovery call.
Yeah.
About the best ways to set your sales up and speak to them about Gazelle, and there's a few different options out there in terms of getting vendors legal ready at the moment. So I usually have those conversations on the discovery call, because to be fair, even if they don't use me, I want transactions to be better and easier for
They might
everybody
be in your
involved.
chain, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you just log into their software to do things, or do they have to log into your software? Like, how do you keep track of communication?
We've got our own software. So I've tried a few of the different agent software, but they're for estate agents. They're not really in depth enough for sales progression. So we've got our own software that we
And they
work
log
on.
into that, or how do
They can log into that, yeah. So it's got a portal very similar. I don't know if you've seen like the solicitors portals, case tracking portals. It's very similar to that. So buyers, sellers, and estate agents can access it. And we put notes on there. So we've traced to see if the mortgage offer's coming in today, etc., etc. So everybody can see it. It's actually a phone app as well. So we find that buyers and sellers find it really helpful, because it explains to them what each milestone means, like what is a draft contract, what a search is, why is it needed, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you think that that's, like, you did touch on it before, but like, do you think that that's one of the biggest problems? Like, no one really tells anyone what the rules of the game are. Like, they just expect people to, because I guess it's a bit like maybe if you've got a sick relative in the hospital, the nurses have sometimes become a bit desensitized to the whole thing.
Yes.
And maybe it's the same with estate agency. It's like, we're sort of skipping over all of this stuff and like, okay, it's all under offer now. So like, speak to your solicitor, let's get it done. And it's like...
I think you've completely hit the nail on the head there, because I didn't see that when I was an estate agent, but now dealing with the transactions that we do, like, actually the amount of times that a seller will take 2 weeks to complete their protocol forms.
Yeah.
And then the estate agent will say to us, God, do they actually want to sell their properties? They've taken 2 weeks to complete their protocol forms. And then I think to myself, well, maybe if we educated them a little bit earlier, if we told them the importance, then
absolutely,
it would change things.
I mean, there's two ends of that scale, isn't there? There's people that know they're supposed to be completing the protocol forms, know what it means, and are just not bothered. And there's people that are like, I don't even know what a fucking protocol form is.
Yeah.
What are you going on about?
Yeah, it's so true.
Oh, yeah, but it's holding up the sale. Well, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought it was something I'd do at the end. And you'd be like, at the end, blah, 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 blah. So, like, that bit there, like, I was talking to an agent the other day about their sales progression. We were looking through their system and, like, I was just like, I'm reading just one random note here that was left like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
That says we're struggling to get the vendor to fill out their forms.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
it's like the agent has just sort of moved on.
Yes.
It's like, but you haven't had the money yet.
Yeah.
You've done all the job, and this thing's just sitting there now.
Yeah. If all they would have to have paid for us to do that job is the £50 up front.
Yeah.
And then the rest is paid when they get paid on completion.
Yeah.
So
do you think the agent maybe, like, I was with some agents last week, and I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but I will bring it back.
Okay.
So I was sitting with some agents last week. We were doing some research around some of the technology we're building and how it fits in with their thinking and stuff. And they said, one of the things that we went through was like, okay, what do your staff do every day? And they brought up these lists. And one of the top things on the list was like chase for viewing feedback. And I was like, why is that on the list? Like, our software does that. Why are you getting people to chase for viewing feedback?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, well, it's just really important. It's something that we tell the vendors, and like, we make a big thing about it because, vendors are not happy with agents' communication. So we tell them that we're going to be, speaking to everybody every time there's a viewing, and then we'll feed it back to them. And I was like, oh, no, but you've just made those rules up.
Yeah.
Like, you told the vendor that, and so now they expect you to do it.
Yeah.
What the vendor's actually saying to you is, don't mug me off.
Yeah.
They don't care about having viewing feedback within 24 hours and, knowing stuff they already knew. Yes. They're saying, give me a decent customer experience and don't mug me off.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, yeah, okay. And but the agent almost doesn't want to release it because they sort of go, well, if we don't do that, what do we do? And it's like, okay, well, we can have that conversation. There's a lot more valuable things you can do. Don't worry, you won't disappear. But maybe, do you think they maybe think the same thing with sales progression? Even though they're not doing it, they're going, no, but we need, if we give that to you, then what's the point of us?
Yeah. But yeah, I do. I think that in some ways, I actually think, I was having this conversation with my mum the other day. I think there's too many things that estate agents have to do. Like a sales
100%.
negotiator. There's just too many different jobs, isn't there? And so for me, the most important job is tying up the deals and the sales progression, you know? And you're giving both of those to one person. And I think the selling of the properties and dealing with transactions should be two separate people. Because they need to put their focus into that. Do you know what I mean? I just think sales negotiators wear so many different hats and I think that's where estate agents fail with the progression. I just think it's too time consuming now, and I do think being a sales negotiator has become somewhat of an impossible job these days. But I had somebody who said to me that their sales negotiators were really, really good at sales progression, and I think that he thought that they wouldn't be happy with handing over control of the sales progression. I said, but what if you said to them they'd get 50% of their time back and they could potentially double their commission because they have more time to focus on selling the properties? It was like, oh yeah, that would be a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, you can give them 50% of their time back. You could get more sales through. You could do all of these things, but they still have, I feel like, not just estate agents, any business, any change, it still has to somehow think, yeah, but what am I going to do with that time? It sounds obvious. It sounds so logical. But I know myself as from growing a business that, like, I can still find myself going back and doing random shit that I did when I just had the company in a bedroom. Because that makes me feel valuable.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to, but like I just randomly go back and do shit like that.
I completely relate to that, because you feel valuable when you're busy. It's like when I brought on the ops manager, I had a period of time that was just, I was a little bit like, oh, so what have I got to do? She's got everything in hand. I'd be like, you're right, Abigail. She's just got everything in hand, and I felt a little bit useless. So I do relate to that. But then after a couple of weeks of it feeling weird, I then started to work on the processes of the business and perfect things that I hadn't had time to work on.
Yeah.
So
the things that you wanted when you got the ops manager. Like I had a couple of weeks ago, I had 2 hours of thinking time.
Wow.
Right. And
that's a luxury.
Yeah. And I thought to myself at the end of it, like, I thought it was so valuable. There's so many things that I solved in that period of time.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, I just thought to myself, like, how weird is it that no one would go to work and go, I'm just going to think for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Like, no one would do that.
Yeah.
Like, because it wouldn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Like, it's like when someone says, what are you doing today? It's like, I've got this to do and this to do and this to do and this. No one goes like, I'm doing fuck all for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's true. But that's an interesting point, because do you figure things out because I don't figure things out on my own. I only figure things out if I'm talking to somebody else and I tell myself what I should be doing. But if I'm on my own and thinking on my own, the ideas don't come. It only comes if it's coming out.
Hey, Mark's thinking all the time.
Are you?
Yeah.
What? So
all the time.
Because I was going to ask about the ops, because a part of our EAX, we've got an accelerator program.
Yeah.
And we get people to understand and identify like the right chairs in the position in the business. So like things like sales progression, who's owning that, who's the chair, which chairs on that, is it multiple different people? So then start understanding, do we outsource it, do we keep it in house, and across the whole business? So, and one of the things we get them to focus on is what is like an implementer or an ops person. So like, how long was it before you realised you needed a person like that in your business?
Yeah.
And how did you go about finding that person?
So I think I realised I needed her way before I brought her on, to be honest. But it's just, when you've got a business and you're managing a budget and things like that. But yeah, I probably needed her about 6 months before I brought her on. She was one of the sales progressors in the team. And as soon as she was a sales progressor, I just knew that she was going to come with me all the way. So yeah, she's so talented, and she's the kind of person that she's so lovely, but she can also deliver a message, but in the loveliest of ways. Do you know what I mean? I'm very straight talking. So yeah, she's brilliant. And exactly what I'd like to. She builds such a fantastic company culture within our company. Everybody knows that they can go to her and have any kind of conversation, and she'll be there. She'll be there to listen. So yeah, so she was one of the team. I think I would be. I don't know. This is my first time bringing on an ops manager into a business that I own, but I think I would be reluctant to bring somebody on that hadn't already worked in the business, because I think as an ops manager, you've got to understand how the business works first. Otherwise, there would have been a huge period of me teaching her how the business works. But because she'd been a sales progressor, she knew. Does that make sense?
I think you're underestimating the work that you'd done.
Yeah.
So there was a process.
Yeah.
Most people are bringing an ops manager because there's no fucking process
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
They're going,
Yeah.
please come and figure all this shit out.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, I am quite good at systems and processes.
Yeah,
So,
you needed someone to come in, see that, and then improve upon it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, most of the agents that Rob's talking about are just like, they've winged it, and there's a trail of fucking destruction behind them.
And they don't tell that person until they've joined and say, "You're the ops now, do this shit."
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, it's a bit different in our perspective. For me, it was a bit more of a capacity issue. I was like doing new business, running the business, doing ops, managing the team, everything on my own.
Yeah.
And I still actually did sales. I did sales progression for 2.5 years since opening the business. So it was only March last year that I.
And how was that again? Like having the full control.
Yeah.
Building up the team.
Yeah.
Then having someone within the team you then recruit to a position.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you said, like 2 weeks in, you're like, oh, I'm not doing this anymore. And then like you release the original identity you had of being a progressor.
Yeah.
That was maybe still part you want to hold on to. And then you're not doing that anymore. Like, because this is what we try and teach a lot of our agents. Like, you're in the business, you try and do valuations, you're doing viewings, you're doing your staff, you're managing it all, you're trying to do marketing, sales progression, all of it.
Yeah.
And you're still then trying to run a business.
Yeah.
And you wonder why, like, you've hit a threshold.
Yeah.
Like, what did it really enable you to do that you just thought, wow, like now I've got a little bit more of this time back? I didn't think about I could actually.
Yeah, so it did give me a lot more thinking time, and actually, it gave me a lot of time to reflect, because I really want to make an impact in sales progression and property transactions. And that's what I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've always been too busy to be able to dedicate myself to that. So it gave me a lot of time to reflect as to, where do I want the business to go? Do you know what I mean? Because when you're so busy running the business, you can't take that time to reflect on where you want your business to go. So I did do a lot of reflection. And to be honest, I'm not somebody that manages people. I'm not somebody, like, I'm not a micromanager. I'm very much, I bring on really good people and I trust them to do a really good job. And my phone is always there. They can always call me if they ever need me. And that's worked really well for us, being light touch, because we bring on experienced people. But also, I don't love the idea of growing the business to me and Abigail managing 100 sales progressors, and that's where it's going if we just continue to do what we're doing. So on my reflection, I thought what I'd actually really love to do is help people build their own businesses, help duplicate myself, and help people on a local level. So what we've decided to do, to give you a little exclusive here, because this hasn't been released yet, but what we've decided to do is to franchise the business so that we can provide sales progression on a local level. So I'm going to help now the team members that want to franchise build their own local sales progression team, because that will then I love the idea of helping people grow their own business. I just love that, what you guys do, like mentoring them to be better. And build something of their own. But I also love the idea of giving the agents a sales progressor who's got local knowledge and knows the little quirks of transactions. And, I don't know, all of the properties in this estate are concrete build construction and things like that. So that's where we're going with the business now.
Very nice. So go on.
I was going to say, like, how have you found going from that traditionally led model to then starting to look at the franchise? Because it's similar to some of the agents out there at the moment going, I've got this traditional model, and like all these EXP agents and all these self-employed agents are like floating around and people franchising. And sometimes they struggle with that. What's the traditional core model?
Yeah.
What does the team understand about that? And then we're now allowing to this, like, you can do this other thing as well. Like, how are you positioning that with current people right now?
So there's a lot of people in the team. There's a lot of sales progressors in the team that I'm like, you would be fantastic at running a sales progression business. And there's been a few sales progressors that I've either interviewed and they've gone and set up their own business, or that have set up their own business and haven't been able to get the clients and then joined us as sales progressors. So there's a lot of people that in the industry that I think see the opportunity, but it's hard. It is really hard. And to set yourself up with the right terms with the clients, the right terms with your team, and to be able to get that new business in is really difficult. So so to answer your question, there's a lot of progressors in the team that I can see have that ability with the right guidance. So there is quite a large number of the team that are quite keen to open a franchise with us, and that's what we're going to do first. We're going to do it with the team first, so that we can get it right and perfect it, and then we'll open it up out to the public.
Yeah, it's good because I think where it breaks down for a lot of the people you're talking about in a estate agency, Rob, is they've got maybe a single branch estate agency, or a couple of branches. They've got somewhere between 10 and 12 staff, and they see the self-employed model in a estate agency working, and their immediate thought is, oh, well, this will be good because I wouldn't have to pay a salary to my staff anymore. And loads of people could come and work for me, but they don't have any of the systems in place.
Yes.
And so they go, right, let's start the self-employed model. And then they slowly realize, no, to franchise a business, you have to have McDonald's level of operations going on.
Yes.
Like, because otherwise you're gonna entice someone in because you're a good salesperson, and then it's just going to be a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
Because they're going to ask for all these things, and you're not going to have them. Whereas you've got 23 people that already know how to do the job.
Yeah.
There's another layer that you've got to give them, which is like, well, how do I employ people, and what do I have to give those people? But you've kind of got the experience of that because you've done that bit as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it will be different to maybe an estate agency that goes, let's do self-employed. Fucking hell, this is a nightmare. Let's go back to not doing self-employed.
Yeah.
You've sort of done a warm-up run of it. You just don't want to personally manage the 1,000 sales progressions.
Yeah. Well, we're not completely flipping. So if any of our team want to stay as sales progressors, they can stay as sales progressors under the Property Progressors brand. And we will continue to grow that team because it's not like we're going to sell, there's 62 territories. We're not going to sell them all on day one. And there will be clients that want to use us. So we're going to do both at the same time. If there's somebody that owns that territory and there's a client that comes in for that territory, we'll give them to that territory. But yeah, I think for me, it's more my love of helping people and the fact that I've seen that it would be really helpful to have local sales progressors. So it's not necessarily for the same reasons.
Yeah.
And I think going back to what you say about the operational stuff, it's taken me 4 years, 3.5, 4 years to get to that point. There's been a lot of learning curves along the way, and I have to protect my team. So like our contract protects my team. Only a few months ago, I had an estate agent that decided actually he didn't have enough control and he wanted somebody in-house and tried to pull his whole sales progression pipeline back from us. Well, I have to protect the sales progression because she's done months of work on that. And that's what our contract protects the sales progressors on. So she still got paid her commission on those files. But when I first started, I went through a situation where somebody did that and it cost us a lot of money because it wasn't in our contract. So I feel that our contract protects.
Yeah, you've got 4 years worth of learning that people don't have to figure out on their own.
Yeah, from both sides, from the sales progressor side and from the client side as well.
Yeah, it's really nice. I like it. I've got one last question unless you've got any other questions.
I've got one.
You go first.
But it's a bit of a curveball back.
Go on.
Solicitors.
Yes.
Conveyancers.
Yeah.
Like a common thing that we see in the industry is everyone's arguments between the two sides, or like why a deal takes longer than what it should do.
Yeah.
Do you find there's a particular type of solicitor you have come across that works best?
Yeah, there's quite a few firms that we work with that offer a great service. So we work with firms that have their solicitors at the same capacity that we have our sales progressors at. Um, that being said, I do think that there's the argument about factory conveyancing, I don't think stands as much as it used to. There used to be a certain law firm that when I was an estate agent, if I had them on one of my deals, I would shudder.
Yeah.
But actually, that law firm's really turned things around, and we don't get complaints that much about it anymore. So I think conveyancers are given much more of a hard time than we should give them. I think it's about how we interact with conveyancers, because I think a lot of estate agents will go, have draft contracts gone out on this? You're talking to a human being. Do you know what I mean? So our communication is very but our communication is very, friendly and respectful, and would make somebody want to reply. If you're just hitting somebody with, I want an update from you, that's when you don't get it.
Do you tend to find that you sort of recommend particular conveyances to maybe an agent that you're bringing on board to say, like, these tend to work best with us, and just how their workflows work to get the sale through?
Yeah, we like to, and also we can call in favours if we've got a relationship with.
You get this through to exchange like next week.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So yeah, we can call in. Sometimes a buyer or seller just needs a legal voice, and if it's a conveyance that we've got a relationship with, we can say, look, I'm having this problem. Can you just have a chat with them? And coming from a solicitor rather than an estate agent, they hear it differently.
Yeah.
So yeah, we do. But a lot of estate agents have already got a relationship with a solicitor, but it's not until we've been working with them for a few months that we're like, actually, they're not as good as you think they are. So maybe reconsider the law firm that you're working with.
Try some of your cases for these ones. Okay, so my last question then is, we sort of touched on it a little bit, but 3 things. If you could change 3 things that would you think would just speed up sales for people, what would the 3 things be?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Tie up better deals. No.
Well, what does that mean though? Tie up better deals.
Yeah, I think it's just being more conscious about. I do understand from a sales negotiator's perspective, if you've done 50 viewings on a property and you've got one person that's interested, you're trying to get it over the line, but then you're just going to give yourself months worth of work.
We all know this deal,
and it's going to fall through. Yeah. So I think just being a bit more conscientious when you're tying up the deal to start off with, trying to get recommended solicitors on both sides. I once worked with an agent who used to get recommended solicitors on, I would say, about 90% of both sides of his cases, and his deals were so good to deal with. We were still needed because you still need that go between the buyer and the seller. So yeah, trying to get solicitors on both sides, and I really think educating vendors and getting them legally prepared before they list, because that will shave 2 weeks off of a transaction. The draft contracts can go out straight away.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Anything else?
No, appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.